Coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios, this is Prime News on SABC 3. Here are the top stories.
We have replaced about 20 transformers in this community alone at 400,000 each of those transformers. And this is the money that we are not actually recouping from the community.
City Power says illegal electricity connections across Johannesburg has cost them approximately 2.5 billion rand in lost revenue.
While the economy of the province has been growing and creating jobs, persistent challenges still remain.
President Ramaphosa has committed to assisting the Northern Cape province in implementing high-impact infrastructure projects. And the EFF is celebrating its 12th anniversary this weekend. It's a Friday night and we are kicking off the countdown with your 8 o'clock news bulletin on Prime News on 3. My name is Beki Mutumomolete and we're wrapping up the week's biggest stories. Without wasting any time, let's get started. City Power says that illegal electricity connections across Johannesburg has cost approximately 2.5 billion rand in lost revenue in the last year alone. This came out earlier today during an operation to remove illegal electricity connections in Tshepisong in the west of Johannesburg.
Residents of Tshepisong watched helplessly as officials from City Power cut illegally connected electricity cables. Large parts of the community were left in the dark, and with a cold weekend predicted by the weather service, the impact of the disconnections could be severe.
It's very affecting us badly because now we don't have electricity at all, and some of the residents are not paying. As you can see, there are illegal connections here. So we've been pleading with City Power to install more transformers for the residents so we can pay electricity.
Community leaders say residents are fed up and the situation is highly volatile.
If the community says we are enough, we are not listening to, we are going to the street, I cannot stop them. I try to stop my community not to go to the street. And there's an evidence that there are videos where I'm talking to them, don't go to the street. You will be killed, you will be arrested.
City Power says it has been spending money on infrastructure, but it is a bottomless pit.
Since January, we have replaced about 20 transformers in this community alone at 400,000 each of those transformers. And this is the money that we are not actually recouping from the community because they haven't been buying electricity.
The consequences of the illegal connections in the city of Johannesburg have been huge.
Due to illegal connections across the city of Johannesburg in the past year, we have lost about 2.5 billion rands. This is illegal connections and also issues of energy losses that we always have.
Residents say they have been without electricity for more than a week, and this is taking a toll on them as some have health issues. Calvin Dludla, SABC News, Tshepisong.
Meanwhile, City Power is refuting reports that its headquarters were raided by the Hawks on Friday afternoon. They have, however, confirmed that the Directorate of Investigating Priority Crimes visited its premises to deliver a formal request for information into the business. Some media outlets reported that a raid and seizure took place at the power utility, alleging that documents, files and IT equipment were confiscated. But in a media statement, City Power refuted these claims and denied that any interrogation took place. The entity says it will cooperate fully with the Hawks' request. President Cyril Ramaphosa says his cabinet oversight visit to the Northern Cape today was meant to assist in unlocking the province's potential for economic growth, which will address many social challenges. The visit forms part of the president's vision in getting all three spheres of government to work together.
This 6 local government engagement was aimed at addressing the challenges faced by municipalities across the country. President Ramaphosa has been crisscrossing the country to assist municipalities in coming up with solutions to deal with poor service delivery. Only 3 out of 22 municipalities in the province received clean audits. Residents in the province have been complaining about poor services. Ramaphosa says unlocking economic opportunities in the province can help address the current government failures.
While the economy of the province has been growing and creating jobs, persistent challenges still remain that are prevalent in the province. National Treasury's 2024 Provincial Socio-Economic Review points to an increase in the percentage of people living in poverty here in the Northern Cape, and people who are facing real-life challenges.
President Ramaphosa says that the fortunes of the province lie in the production of green energy through solar and green hydrogen.
The province's green hydrogen master plan is ambitious in both scope and potential, not just for the Northern Cape, but for the national economy as well. It is also a potential that can have an impact on SADC and even for our continent.
The president's next stop will be in the northwest. Tebogo Msimanga, SABC News, Kimberley.
While the economic freedom fighters are celebrating the party's 12th anniversary this week and a presence in Parliament since 2014, a lot has been said about the EFF strategies, contributions and tactics in the national legislature. As the party commemorates its 12 years of existence, we look at its performance in Parliament.
Don't worry, we're going.
Disruptive. This word has often been used to describe the party's behavior in committees and in the House. And looking at these clips, one can see why there is this perception of the party out there. Who can forget this? When the party first arrived in Parliament in 2014 with 25 seats, it seemed as though its strategy was to challenge the decorum of the proceedings and disrupt debates. The phrase parliamentary bounces was first coined in 2014, and these were common scenes. Was this part of the party's plan for radical transformation?
I mean, from 2014 here in Parliament, of course, we were not necessarily disruptive, but we had to change the status quo. Parliament was boring. People were sleeping here, and people were not even interested in watching a parliamentary channel. But today, millions of our people have got takes interest in government.
Of the so-called tactics, one of the party's goals was to raise awareness on issues like land redistribution and economic inequality. On the 27th of February 2018, the party tabled a motion in the National Assembly to amend the Constitution.
It wasn't the first time that the EFF tabled that motion. Even prior to 2018, I think 2 attempts were made and the motion didn't go through. But in 2018, we felt such a relief and we thought, indeed, finally, victory is coming.
Abra Barbia, SABC News, Parliament.
It is now time for us to take a quick break. Do stay tuned. More updates for you after this. Welcome back from the break. As the hearing of Tiffany Meeks continues, questions have been raised about the thoroughness of the investigation into her son's death and whether all possible leads have been explored. Meeks faces 4 charges, including murder, defeating the ends of justice, and obstruction of justice in connection with the death of her 11-year-old son, Jaden Lee Meeks.
Tiffany Meeks' lawyer raised concerns over the timeline presented by witnesses who alleged that Meeks returned to the apartment at around 4 a.m. after spending the night at her mother's house on the day in May that Jaden Lee was reported missing. However, the investigating officer stood by the witness's testimony, stating that the body was discovered by a resident and an on-duty security guard shortly after Meeks had left the building that morning.
The statements given under oath are that when she arrived, she was alone, and according to her, she locked the flat and left, and no one has ever gone, and there was only one set of keys. Therefore, if she only had one set of keys, how could the second person be into the house? How would that person could have gotten access to the house?
The defense also questioned claims that the community had turned against Meeks, citing the involvement of 2 private investigating firms that had offered to help track down who they believe to be the real perpetrator. Naidu challenged the state by asking whether any neighbors had heard sounds coming from Meeks' apartment on the day of the alleged assault on Jaden Lee. Meeks will spend another weekend behind bars as the bail hearing will continue for closing arguments on Monday. Judgment is expected on Tuesday next week. Lopang Alamu, SABC News, Johannesburg.
And on to the next story. The Durban High Court has heard that the Auditor General found in its 2023-2024 report that the Itala Bank was liquid and that its cash reserves had improved. Legal counsel for Itala, Advocate Sandile Khumalo, says the entity's bank accounts were frozen in January because the Reserve Bank's Prudential Authority and Repayment Administrator had anticipated the outcome of the application for liquidation.
Khumalo submitted to a full court that the repayment administrator had effective control over Itala's bank accounts for 13 months, without any adverse effects. But he said despite this, the administrator Johan Kruger went ahead to apply for liquidation, as was argued in court papers, to prevent a rush on the bank. Advocate Etienne Theron, counsel for Kruger, argued that the court's order, for which they want to be granted leave to appeal, effectively had condoned Itala's illegal deposit taking. Kruger contends that Itala had accepted deposits after its exemption from the Bank Act lapsed in December 2023 until his liquidation application was lodged in January this year. The Prudential Authority also submitted that a letter by the National Treasury of a 2 billion rand guarantee to protect Itala's retail deposit wasn't a binding statement in accordance with the law. The applicant's counsel further said Itala was itself responsible for the circumstances it created that may cause the development corporation to close. Itala asked the court to allow the continued payment of salaries for its 450 employees, pending the appeal processes. The provincial government, who joined Itala as respondent, said the liquidation of Itala would have catastrophic implications. Judgment is expected in 2 weeks. For SABC News, I am Jade Paulser in Durban.
The latest estimation for the reconstruction and rebuilding of Parliament comes in at just under 4.5 billion rand. The Joint Standing Committee on the Financial Management of Parliament received a briefing from the implementing agent for the rebuilding process, the Development Bank of Southern Africa, the Hawks, and the Office of the Auditor General.
The rebuilding of Parliament is officially underway. The Development Bank of Southern Africa says it appointed a contractor in April this year.
You may not see things really happen for now. I see that you will see the cranes and all of that, but the crane is just for material handling for us. Building now, we are adding another 2 floors plus the roof at the top, which has never existed before. So at this point in time, you may not see the work is happening underground at this point in time.
It is expected to come in at 4.5 billion rand.
The refurbishment of the old assembly, as well as rebuilding of the new assembly. All those parts put together constitute a total that has been estimated at 4.4 billion.
The completion of the project is planned for December next year. Parliament is adamant that no delays will be tolerated. The Hawk says at this stage they still only have one suspect, Zandile Mafe, who was declared unfit to trial. Zaline Merrington, SABC News, Parliament.
It's time for a commercial break. We'll see you soon after this. Thank you for staying with us. Labour talks under the facilitation of the CCMA to end the strike action by FlySafair pilots resume today. It's been almost a week of industrial action by the FlySafair pilots affiliated to the trade union Solidarity.
It's been, almost a week of this strike action by pilots belonging to trade union Solidarity. You know, they down tools over wages, embarking on this industrial action that earlier on in the week shook the industry in terms of the frustrations that we saw on the ground. And this, I guess, knocked a little bit of urgency in the CCMA's corner to say they need to now bring these parties together. Yeah. And from Wednesday, that's when we saw them sitting, and they're trying by all means to find each other so they can bridge this impasse. We're told that talks advanced stage, looking at the fact that both of the parties are in agreement that they would not want this strike to prolong, looking at the implications that would be dire for not only the country's economy, but also the workers themselves, because this becomes a no work, no pay kind of an embarkment that they went into. But also at the same time, remember that they were locked out by the employer, who was then exercising his rights to try by all means to bring the workers back in terms of them, picking up the tools and flying. But that really frustrated the workers to a point whereby they extended the strike to 2 weeks. So from Wednesday, they've been sitting. The meeting is behind closed doors. They're not letting us in, really, in terms of the day-to-day or hour-to-hour activities. Instead, they've asked that we give them some space so they're able to negotiate without any interference.
First Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress, Nomvula Mokonyana, says this year's Liberation Movement Summit will look at ways to tackle the continent's economic crisis. Mokonyana was speaking ahead of the summit, which takes place this weekend.
People, and hence we have to gather together and say what has been our experiences based on our electoral fortunes and misfortunes. How does the world look at Africa, and how does Africa begin to address its own limitations of leadership, of being able to plan collectively, and most importantly, of maximizing the beneficiation, starting first with ourselves before we can even export those resources that have enriched other nations. And hence we are proud as a country that we now have also amended the Land Act.
And now on to the pitch. The South African women's football team is preparing to face Ghana tonight for the second time in the CAF Women's Africa Cup of Nations tournament, this time in Casablanca, Morocco. It's the playoff for third and fourth place in the tournament, and there is a bronze medal at stake.
The third place playoff match is one fixture no player really wants to play. With all Banyana went through in the semi-finals, the team is drained and ready to board the plane home. However, they do have a reason to play the match, and that's to win bronze for one of the leaders of Banyana. Jermaine Seopesenwa is retiring from the national side for her own well-being.
A lot of the players have joked with me about, my legacy and all of those things, but it's very interesting to be in that position. Obviously, in the past, I wasn't that person, but now I am, and it's a responsibility that I've accepted, and I do appreciate it.
It'll be Seopesenwa's 110th international cap, and coach Desiree Ellis knows she will struggle to replace her.
Jermaine doesn't realize what a big role model she is for some of the players out there, and we're thankful and grateful for everything that she's done for the national team. I actually don't think we can thank her for what she's done.
For the players still reeling from getting knocked out in the semi-finals by Nigeria, they now have to pick themselves up and try to salvage something from the defense of their title that did not go according to plan.
A lot of things happen. Teams have improved so much. For us, it's a learning curve. We'll come back better prepared. So for us, it's just fighting for position 3 and 4, and obviously we want to get a medal, and that's what we're aiming for.
Simon Burke, SABC News.
Let's see what we can expect from our southern skies. Our weather experts are on standby to fill you in. Stay tuned. Your forecast is next.
Thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to the weather desk. Time for us to look at those conditions over the country. We're going to start looking at tonight's conditions. We're still expecting some rainy conditions over most of the interior of the country, especially over Limpopo, stretching into Gauteng all the way into KwaZulu-Natal, Free State, Mpumalanga, and towards the southern parts of the Eastern Cape and Western Cape for tonight. With this rainfall, it means that temperatures will be dropping significantly over those areas. So please, let's make sure that we remain indoors and remain warm. For tomorrow, tomorrow, we're still expecting a 30% chance of showers and rain as we move up north over Limpopo, stretching into Gauteng, Mpumalanga, and also KwaZulu-Natal. Also expecting some morning fog patches over Mpumalanga and also the Free State. Those morning fog patches also expected as we move toward the southern parts of the Northern Cape. We are talking Sutherland and surrounding areas, which means that visibility will be reduced in the morning. Also expecting some rainy conditions as we move towards the southern parts of the Eastern Cape, stretching all the way into the Western Cape. Now, looking at some warnings for tonight, it is a level 2 warning of some damaging waves as we move towards the coast for tonight, and also for tomorrow, similar conditions with that level 2 warning of damaging waves, which means that it will be difficult to navigate at sea, and also some beachfront activities can be disrupted. For tonight, it is going to be a chilly night, especially over places such as Sunderland. We're expecting a minimum of -2, so it is freezing over Calvinia, also with a low of -2. Moving towards Bloemfontein, we're expecting a low of 5-0 over Bethlehem, 6 over Pretoria and Emelo, Polokwane at a minimum of 9. Maximum temperatures for tomorrow, it is going to be a relatively warm day as we move towards Musina and Palabora with a high of 25. That is the only place in Limpopo which is warm. Cool conditions as we move towards Polokwane, stretching into Pretoria with an average of 22. Upperton peaking at 20. Bloemfontein at a maximum of 17, with the mother city also expecting cool conditions for tomorrow with a high of 16. Moving towards the coast, East London peaking at 15. Durban also expecting a cool day tomorrow with a maximum of 21. That's all the weather I have for you. Stay tuned.
The curtain closes on tonight's news, but our newsroom stays plugged in. Be sure to receive more updates from us in the new week. Have an amazing weekend ahead, and from myself and the team, stay inspired. Good night, South Africa.